That night, I worked overtime until a little past 1 a.m. The only sounds left in the office were my computer powering down and the air conditioning humming. I was the last person on the entire floor. When I walked out of the building, the street outside was nearly deserted. The streetlights stretched my shadow long behind me, and the wind was a little cold. I picked up my pace and headed home. I live in an old apartment building with no doorman. The stairwell always smells kind of damp and moldy. When I stepped into the elevator area on the first floor, the fluorescent light on the wall flickered twice before it stabilized. The floor was dirty. Someone obviously walked in without wiping their feet again. I pressed a button. The elevator doors slid open. Empty. I stepped in, pressed the 14, leaned against the wall, and closed my eyes for a deep breath. The doors started to close, but right as they were about to shut, thud, something jammed them, and they opened back up. A pale hand slipped in first, then a middle-aged man stepped inside. He was wearing a dark gray trench coat with the hood pulled up, head down. I couldn't see his face clearly. He didn't say a word, didn't look at me, just focus on floor. I nodded out of habit, no reaction. He just stood on the other side of the elevator, arms hanging down, head lowered. The elevator began to rise. At first, everything seemed normal. But when we reached the 7th floor, the lights suddenly flickered and went completely dark, just for about 1 second. I opened my eyes and looked up. The light came back on immediately. Then, at the 9th floor, the whole elevator gave a little jolt. It felt like something had gotten stuck, or like the weight had suddenly shifted. I stumbled a bit and had to adjust my footing. But him? Not a single movement. He didn't sway, didn't shift, not even a twitch in his fingers. That's when I noticed there was a small wet patch forming on the floor beneath him. His dark shoes left a faint trail of water with each step, but it hadn't rained tonight. The streets were totally dry. A chill crept up my back, but I tried to reason with myself. Maybe he just got out of the shower or stepped in some puddle somewhere. Still, the wet marks were weird. They weren't splashes or drips. It looked more like someone completely soaked had stood there for a long time, and the water slowly seeped out around them. We reached the 14th floor. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. I didn't hesitate, just stepped right out. But as soon as my foot hit the hallway, I heard a low, barely audible voice behind me. "You live here too?" I froze, slowly turned my head. He was still standing in the elevator, but this time, his head was lifted. His face was so pale it looked bluish. His lips were damp and glossy. His eyes were wide, way too wide. But what disturbed me the most was that there was no light in them. Just a hollow, lifeless stare, like the eyes of a dead fish. The doors began to close, slowly, and his face stayed perfectly visible in that narrowing gap. Right up until the doors shut completely, I didn't move. I just stood there frozen, watching the elevator carry him upward. Then I bolted, ran straight to my apartment, slammed the door shut, locked it, threw on the chain. My hands were still shaking. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a message from the building's group chat. Someone had posted a screenshot of a news article. Man dies after falling in elevator shaft on his way home last night. Body was trapped inside the shaft for nearly 12 hours. Identity confirmed. And yes, it was raining last night. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Even through the grainy CCTV footage, I recognized that trench coat instantly. It was the exact same one that man had been wearing, the man who was standing right beside me just minutes ago. I was still holding my phone when I heard the elevator downstairs start humming again. First floor, second, third. Each ding rang out loud and clear, echoing through the hallway and into my apartment. I didn't dare go near the door, but I knew it was coming up until it stopped at the 14th floor. No one rang the bell, no footsteps, nothing. I turned on every light in the room, pulled out my phone, and started recording, pointing the camera toward the front door. Even now, I still haven't had the courage to watch that video. But one thing I remember very clearly, while I was recording, my front door slowly began to open, even though I had already locked it.